It's the airnetwork.net special night of Monday Night Sports Talk. Actually, it's the Thursday edition of Monday Night Sports Talk. We had to take a little bit of hiatus this week due to some of the sporting events we had on the air. But nonetheless, Thursday night, we get together, kibitz the old guys from around the state of Pennsylvania, and we talk about sports when it comes to the Pirates, Penguins, maybe the Steelers, and all local and regional sports. With me tonight, we've got Jimmy Ty from Hamburg, Pennsylvania, live and direct, and Dave Shannon, by the way, settling down a little bit these days in Altoona. I guess you're not on the road as much, right, Dave?
Not for the moment. Not for the moment. That could change at any time, though.
Yeah, you've been doing some hockey. You did some football this year. Will you do any winter basketball at all? Anything like that?
Don't have anything scheduled at this point. One time I was looking at doing play-by-play for a developmental team.
Okay.
One of the NBA developmental teams, but right now that's not in the cards, so I'll keep you up to date, though.
Yeah, let me know what's going on with that. Jimmy, meanwhile, you've been busy. You are changing your shift, I guess, at work here rather soon. You're going to be working that 3 to 11 all the time?
For the next maybe like 2 months, and then I'll switch over to day shift again. So
okay, get back to normal, at least.
Normalcy for me.
Yeah, some kind of normalcy.
But this is part of the probation period that we have, you know.
Yeah.
I work like most of the time day shift, and now for the next 2 months I have to go second shift.
Right.
And go from there.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about sports because that's what it's about tonight. And we'll also give you some upcoming events that you'll be hearing here on the airnetwork.net. Keep in mind, by the way, if you want to jump on Skype and join us live, you can do that from your mobile phone or perhaps from your tablet or even online. Just go to Greg Banks 3 or put that in as a contact request. Go to Skype, download it, it's free of charge, and put in Greg Banks 3. And you can join us whether it's Monday night or even tonight. And as soon as we get that request, we'll put you on the air with us tonight. But, Dave, let me talk a little bit about that Steeler game because even to my surprise, it was just a wide-open blowout. There were being points put on the board. I was going to the bathroom and come back, and there'd be some touchdowns made, although I did catch that last one by Antonio, which was kind of weird. It was sort of like a ball buster. And and then on top of that, the man ended up getting fined. I mean, let's talk a little bit about that game. And first of all, Ben's performance and his wide receivers.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's any number of things about the offense that have been really amazing to me this year. This is finally after how many seasons is it that Haley has been there?
I think at least 4, maybe 3 or 4 now.
It's got to be 4, I think.
Yeah.
Jimmy, do you know?
For what?
How long is
Todd Haley being the offensive coordinator?
4 years.
4 years.
4
okay.
years. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about it is, this is the year where it finally all came together. Mm-hmm. It's a long time, because the way professional sports goes, baseball, maybe not so much. Baseball is the kind of thing where you can blow a team up, and it may take 4 years to put it back together. But the problem here was that because the talent pool has been basically the same except for, restructuring that offensive line. But Haley's had that talent base there for a while. And all of a sudden now it's like I see smiles. I see Haley showing emotion in a positive way. Smiling. He's not just always brooding on the sideline. He talks to Ben.
Yeah.
All of these things are going well, and I think that's really a big part of the reason why the Steelers are doing so well this year. And D'Angelo Williams, I can't say enough about how, picking this guy up. And for his age, my goodness, he looks like a spring chicken out there. The way he's able to run the ball, it's amazing to me.
Well, that's
been such a big part of them being able to be successful is him being able to run the ball. He's almost a rubber-stamped 100-yard gain a game kind of guy.
Well, yeah, again, he has picked up the slack because he's been brought in. But, Jimmy, he would probably start on any football team, wouldn't he? In any other instance, I believe, because of the yardage he has.
D'Angelo, oh my gosh, yes. You could put him on any team. Jacksonville, New England.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't matter what team it is right now. D'Angelo's that good.
Yeah. Hey, they had an offense, Dave, of about, and Jimmy, 522 yards last week. I think this is the 4th consecutive game that the Steelers went over 400 yards this season. And, Ben was really not really committed to coming out and playing against the Colts until midweek. Remember, he had that concussion thing going on,
Right,
and
right.
he had to go through the protocol. I mean, what an amazing season. And having said that, I mean, aside from, let's say, Cam Newton, would you both agree that maybe Antoine Brown might be the MVP this year? Jimmy first and then Dave.
Antonio Brown.
Or Antonio Brown, yeah.
No, I don't think he would be the MVP because an MVP candidate would have to show up whenever they had like all the other quarterbacks with Vic and Landry Jones, and he really never showed up against it. Plus, he didn't show up against Richard Sherman when they play against the Seahawks. So no, I would say no. Like,
Well, that's because they didn't get the ball to him, though.
If I would have to pick an MVP candidate other than
Yeah.
Cam Newton, I won't even say Tom Brady.
Yeah.
You know, because he struggled. That's a hard question. Maybe, geesh.
Well, let me get back.
Cam Newton.
Well, hold on.
Here's one. This
Think
is
back
gonna
to his
blow-
performance. Go ahead, Dave.
I was going to say, this is going to blow you guys away, but from the true definition of valuable, okay? Most valuable player,
Right.
Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford
Seriously?
comes in to quarterback the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday and blows the Patriots out of the water.
Well, yeah, true.
And you look at what that team did without Bradford in there.
Sure.
Now, granted, a lot of these were, a number of special teams, big plays that made that, what it was. But Sam Bradford, I mean, the difference in that team with him at quarterback is amazing to me.
Yeah.
I would pick Carson Palmer.
Yeah?
And that might be
Carson
another.
Palmer,
Yeah.
because he's on target with all his receivers. They have one of the best records. If they're going to be the number 2 seed in the NFC.
Yeah. Okay.
And if Palmer's not there, Arizona's not in the playoffs.
They don't even show up. Yeah.
They don't even
By the
show up.
way,
So I would pick Carson.
They
Palmer.
play tonight, don't they, Dave? I
Yeah,
believe.
right.
They
Yeah,
play
Minnesota
Minnesota.
Vikings.
Okay, that should be an interesting game because those are really two high-powered offenses going at each other. It's got to be one of the best Thursday night matchups of this season, as far as I'm concerned. Because
and-
they've had some dog of games on Thursday nights.
Good defense versus good offense.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other one, I think we should point out, Monday nights can tend to be really horrible.
Oh, well, this
but
one
I'll tell
coming
you
up,
what,
though.
I tuned in. I had some television shows that I like to watch,
Yeah.
so I didn't tune into Monday Night Football until about 11 o'clock, and boy, did I pick the right time to tune in and watch that Cowboys-Redskins game.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was another one. But coming up this coming Monday, though, should be a whale of a game. It's for basically virtually all the marbles, or at least to get in the playoffs for the Steelers. It's sort of like do and die. I do believe that'll be the Bengals Steelers game. I think that's Monday night, isn't it?
Sunday night.
Sunday night,
Sunday
okay.
night.
No.
I thought it was Monday, but I could be wrong. I'll have to check the schedule again. But having said that, let me go back to something that I just referenced. First of all, Ben had over 300 yards passing for the third or fourth consecutive game, or at least, 4 games this season. Brown, by the way, with that run back that sealed the game late in the game, and then his antics again in the end zone. Okay, this one came out of nowhere, and you guys were probably watching or have seen the highlights of him jumping on that goalpost. That security guard was right behind him, and I think he grabbed a handful of her hair.
No, actually,
I don't know if she knew that or not.
If you watch it in super slow-mo, he wanted to get a hold of the
post.
padding.
Yeah.
And what he did was he caught her coat.
Is that what it was?
And her hair
happened to be there.
Yeah, she had very long hair.
Yeah.
And so he naturally never had a hold of her hair. She just felt him on her back, grabbing the jacket, and she turned, and it looked like he pulled her hair, but he really didn't. So
the first thing
Great play.
It was a great play. Yeah.
Awesome play.
It was awesome, and that's why I said, this guy's having such a performance. He's got to be at least considered for MVP, but then as Dave mentioned. But let's go back to this. Now, you're Coach Tomlin. You guys are winning, and your wide receiver makes that move, and of course he gets that, I believe it was a punt or a kickoff, and he runs it back. And what do you say to him when he gets to the sideline? Because you gotta agree that was cool. The cameras switched to Ben. Ben had that look on his face, and he's laughing, and everybody's laughing. I mean, that's really fun, man.
I'll tell you what, they had this conversation on that backflip that he did.
Oh yeah,
They've already had this, and I think probably Tomlin was at that point on the sideline. It's like, I'm not going to worry about this right now, but I'll tell you what, tomorrow you're in my office and we're going to discuss this again, and the fines are going to keep getting bigger. You know, I mean, go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter who you are, what football player you are. When you do stupid things like that, the NFL is going to cost. Your NFL is going to come after your wallet.
It's like they don't want to be shown up. You know, it's like, we don't want to start that because we'll have everybody doing that. Like T.O. going in and getting the magic marker at the field goal at the post that time, and then signing the football or whatever it is. You know,
Joe Horn pulling out the cell phone whenever he played for the Saints.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
those things. I mean, I understand. I mean, that's a great accomplishment to be able to do a run back.
And it's fun to watch it, man.
Yeah, but you just have to learn to control your enthusiasm for what you just did, and keep it. There's two things there, and the thing with Brown is both of these things: the backflip and the hugging of the goalpost, so to speak.
Right.
Those two things, he could have been injured in either one of those.
Well, that's true.
I mean, guys have been injured in much more malign circumstances in celebrations.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, we can't afford to lose you, if for no other reason. When you get that excitement and you're enthusiastic about what you did, just remember your team. You know, it's a team game, and if something happens to you, you're letting down your team.
Well, the worst that could have happened to him is if he wasn't wearing a cup and he wasn't wearing a jock. I'm thinking to myself, that had to hurt. You know what I'm saying? I mean, any ladies out there listening, it's like having your bike chain break in the middle of pumping up a hill, and all hell breaks loose, and you see like animals like the cartoons, Dave, like when we were kids, Tweety Bird, and there's birds flying around your head. So thank God that Antonio Brown was not hurt in that game. But anyhow, let me ask you this again, Jimmy. Where do you see the Steelers then? Of course, keeping in mind the Jets are staying alive here, and you also have, of course, the Bengals ahead of the pack. Do you think now they have to win out in order to even get into the wild card?
Here's my prediction of the AFC playoff race. You're going to have Cincinnati as the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
You're going to have the Denver Broncos as the number 2 seed. Now, where does the Steelers come in? New England Patriots versus the Pittsburgh Steelers in the wild card game.
Okay.
And then in the other bracket, you would have the Kansas City Chiefs versus the
New York Jets?
Kansas City Chiefs versus the New York Jets.
Okay.
That is my prediction. So Pittsburgh will get the, what would it be, the 5th seed?
Right.
Yeah.
So you're following this, Dave. I mean, because obviously you've seen, like I've seen.
Not the Jets, I'm sorry. It would be the Indianapolis Colts.
Well, here again, if they lose, if they lose anything, they're really out of the picture, because there's too many teams bunched together here.
Games that we think are automatics.
Oh, I don't think any of them are automatic now.
It's like that New England Philly game.
Yeah.
I mean, Jimmy, I imagine there was a lot in the papers about that on Monday about the Eagles and their big game against. Yeah, and it's like, who would have? I'm sitting here on Sunday, and that game comes on, and it's like, do I really want to watch this?
Yeah.
And it was like, boy, was I glad I did.
But did you guys have the same feeling I had, that even with about a minute and 10 seconds left on the clock, that Brady might just pull this damn thing out? And because it was sort of almost like, what are the Eagles going to do to lose this game today? I mean, I was just waiting for the proverbial stuff to hit the fan, and I just kept thinking, if anybody's going to pull this out, it's John Elway, Brady. I mean, there's those certain quarterbacks have those qualities, like Drew Brees and Brett Favre, that used to just pull games out of nowhere at the end, and I was waiting for that.
Yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen. But you know what? Credit to the Eagles' defense.
Defense.
I mean, they
won it for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really was. It really was. It's theairnetwork.net. You can get us online at www.theairnetwork.net. You can also download the free app called TuneIn Radio. Just look for The Air Network, and you check us out Monday nights, usually, from 7 until 8 p.m. We're live, usually with Dave Shannon from Altoona, Jimmy Ty from Hamburg as tonight. Also joining us on those most Monday nights, Chad States from Huntington and Jeff Speck from McAlevy's Ford. Those guys are tied up tonight. Matter of fact, I spoke to Jeff earlier, and he was enjoying a high school basketball game in Bellefonte, Pennsylvania tonight. And he was just raving about their wireless system for his phone because in Huntington, Jim, he has all these problems. But he said, I walked into Bellefonte and I connected immediately.
Wow.
Yeah.
To which I said, well, okay, I guess I'm going to have to go to high school and start raising some heck. Then I'm Jeff. So, anyhow. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the College Bowl picture now. I think we obviously have a clear idea of how this whole thing is going to go down. Jimmy, were you even close to your calculation of the teams getting into the top four there? I do remember you mentioning Clemson last week.
I missed one team. It was Michigan State.
Okay, and you had mentioned Michigan State, or you missed Michigan State?
I said Iowa.
Okay, so what we have now in the picture is Clemson. In fact, we have who else is in the picture out of the other three teams?
Michigan State, Alabama, and Oklahoma.
Okay, so Michigan State and Oklahoma, to me, are sort of like those teams that I never saw coming. I mean, are you guys feel the same way, too, or is it just me?
I watched one Oklahoma game and this year, and when I saw that and saw the way that team was playing, it's like, I was really impressed with the way Oklahoma played.
Right.
Michigan State, the one game that I saw them, the beginning to end was against Penn State, and I don't know if that's a good barometer for how good a team is.
Yeah.
There was a big mismatch there in that particular game.
Right.
And so Michigan State, they did what they needed to do against Iowa. I was kind of rooting for Iowa. I thought that would have been neat if they would have been able to be a part of the
Big Ten,
playoff
another
picture.
Big Ten school, yeah.
Yeah, but at any rate, it's Michigan State instead. So I think they have the ability to probably get to a championship game. I don't think they can win it. Alabama, what can you say about them?
Yes.
They're just that team is just amazing, and tip of the cap to the coach, and that's just a program that and I'm sure you'd like to say that every college should emulate.
Yeah.
But at some point along the way, I know something will come out and it'll be a bad.
Yeah, there will be one of those stories. One of those stories like down in North Carolina where somebody was doing the test for all the athletes, or whatever the case was. Jimmy, so you're comfortable thinking then the game on January, I believe it is the 8th or 9th, and I don't have my calendar here, the championship game then will be Clemson and Alabama. I mean, how's that all going to unfold here? Because, is it 1 and 2 that actually will see each other then on that proverbial national championship day, or do you see an upset?
I see an upset.
Okay.
Which game?
I see Michigan State coming over, beating Alabama.
Alabama, okay. Well, see, that would be interesting.
Wow.
That might be interesting to see that happen. I think that's probably...
And the main fact is Michigan State has one of the best quarterbacks in college football right now. And, the way he runs his team, and I just don't think Alabama's defense is that good enough to beat a Michigan State team.
So you don't think they've been tested enough this season then? I mean, as far as their defense on Alabama. So you're foreseeing then, I think what I'm hearing is Clemson, Michigan State in the national championship game?
Yes.
Okay. What's your feelings on that, Dave? I mean, as we see these matchups sort of unfold here, you like that matchup, or you're thinking more Alabama, Clemson?
I'm thinking more that way.
Okay.
I just think those two teams are the cream of the crop in college football,
right?
And that they're going to be the ones you see in the championship. So.
Well, Penn State football is all forgotten except one more game yet, guys, and that is the game coming up on January 2nd when Penn State faces off with Georgia. That'll be in the Tax-Slayer Bowl, Jimmy. Do you remember the Tax-Slayer Bowl? Now, that used to be the old Gator Bowl. Okay, they're playing down there in Jacksonville on January 2nd. So, hey, Dave, every year we're getting closer and closer to that championship date. I don't think we're going to make it.
Hey, Greg, I have an idea.
What's that?
Why don't you make it a bowl game called the Air Network Bowl.
Well, we'll have to do that someday. When we make a lot of money and people pay their bills on time, we'll do that, Jimmy.
Air Network Bowl.
We're going to have to get a lot of sponsors for that. But let me ask you this. How do you see that matchup, Jimmy, with Penn State and Georgia? I mean, Dave and I talked off air earlier, and he doesn't think, Georgia's going to let up on Penn State. But do you see it as being close or what?
Georgia's mad.
Yeah.
Because the head coach is gone.
Mm-hmm.
They're ticked off. Penn State just got the bad draw out of all the teams.
Yeah.
Georgia's just gonna destroy. I hate to say this, Penn State fans, but Georgia's just gonna destroy Penn State because the main fact is Georgia's pissed off because of the firing of the head coach.
Yeah, and he's now he landed in Miami, so he's good.
So,
yeah, he's all right.
So and then you look at the Pitt matchup against Navy.
Yeah.
They're in the Military Bowl.
Yeah.
The military, they're playing Navy. Where's the Naval Academy at?
Yeah, exactly.
Annapolis, Maryland.
Yeah.
Where's the bowl game at? Annapolis, Maryland. And so basically it's a road game for Pitt.
And we talked about that too off air a little bit, Dave, in that you said Pitt heading to the Military Bowl to face Navy. Navy's actually a pretty tough opponent this year. I mean, I watched a couple of their games, and I'm not so sure that Pitt's going to be able to handle them offensively or defensively, to be quite honest.
There's two ways that can go, and one is that it's a really close game.
Yeah.
The other one is that Navy actually blows Pitt out of the water.
Yeah,
it'll play on words.
It is. Thank God it's not December 7th. It's actually the 10th. Okay.
Yeah. At any rate, the bottom line is that Pitt at times has that Jekyll and Hyde when it comes to their defense. I've seen their defense be really stout and hold a team down. And then I remember back, I think probably the game that sticks out for me with Pitt was Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And how Notre Dame just seemed to be able to do whatever the heck they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that one, I think back about that. I don't know. Has the defense matured a little bit? Is it better now than it was against Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Probably. I would say probably. But that's going to be the key to that game is Pitt's defense as to whether they can hold Navy's offense down.
Hey, Jimmy, a couple of good things. First of all, Coach Nardozzi signs a 2-year contract extension today. So that's good news for Pitt. The other thing is, let me ask you this, Jimmy. They were 4th best in the ACC. Now, if that's the case, Pitt with a record of 8-4, do you think they could have gone to a higher tier, game, bowl game, or are you satisfied with this Military Bowl?
No, I'm not satisfied with the Military, but they should have gave them the Military Bowl to another ACC.
A lower team. Maybe somebody,
because if you look at the schedule, look at all the teams they did lose against. You know,
yeah.
Why is Pitt in this Military Bowl? And it's basically a home game for Navy. Go down to Miami or something. Look at Penn State's record, and they got a better bowl game.
Well, having said that, Dave,
it's not fair. It's not fair for the Pitt Panthers to be in a bowl like this.
Dave, do you think that maybe Tax Slayer Committee, when they waited to see how this thing would unfold with the top 4, and they selected Penn State, a lot of that's because their fans travel well, especially down south. Isn't that right? Over the holidays.
You're right, and it's going to be interesting to me to see if that actually plays out.
Yeah.
Because there were a number of games this year at Beaver Stadium where you saw,
you saw some
holes,
seats. Yeah.
Gaping holes in the crowd. You could see the seating in Beaver Stadium, and it's like, uh-oh. And so that's always been a big key for bowl game selections is that you're picked because your team has a reputation of the fans coming, and that's what makes these bowls a success.
Oh yeah, the money, man.
The amount of people you bring into a town, and
money.
then it's all
Cash is
about
king.
that.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be curious to me to see if they do travel well this year because there's a degree of dissatisfaction within the Penn State community about what's going on with the team. They want more. They expect more. Coach Paterno, whatever you think about him, spoiled everyone into having a certain degree of expectation year after year.
Yeah.
And, now the university has done some things to cut down on their home crowds by doing things to fans.
Just stupid stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the price increase.
Parking 5 miles away.
Yeah. I mean, everything, not all of why the crowds are off at Beaver Stadium is because of the team. But the bottom line is, I hope they do travel well, because that always ensures, in the future that Penn State is going to be picked for, even though they may not be in the national championship picture, they're going to be picked for a bowl that's considered a little more of a top tier bowl than some of the other ones. So,
I got to give it to Penn State, though. They put together a hell of a tailgate party, and sometimes people never leave those parties to come inside. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people really don't. I mean, there's thousands of people out in the parking lot during game day and during the game, so you got to give it to Penn State in that, in that respect. Hey, Jimmy, real quick, the culture has changed at Pitt. Narduzzi is the coach. He's been extended. And I don't think Pitt fans are going to travel to that military bowl like the Penn State fans to the Tax Slayer. A lot of that, and Dave, maybe you can agree after I talk to Jimmy about this. Yeah. Pitt doesn't. It's a town. It's a city. It's like, I don't know, maybe there's too many other universities there. They don't have their own home field. They're utilizing Heinz Field. You think that keeps them from really, truly finding a loyal fan base? I mean, even for going on the road for this bowl game.
Yeah, I think that's true, because they share the same complex as the Steelers with Heinz Field and their same training complex.
Right.
First off. Secondly, University of Pittsburgh's in Oakland, which is a suburb of Pitt,
Yeah.
Of Pittsburgh. Yeah, and then you look at Penn State, that's a college town.
It's just more of a rural town.
Just like University of Illinois.
Yeah.
For Pitt to go to a higher tier bowl, they would have to have like 2 more wins and maybe be second in the ACC.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm upset. I don't like them going to the military bowl. I don't think too many. I think Pitt fans will go, but it's not going to be like how Dave said the Penn State fans. The Penn State fans will go anywhere for their team.
Yeah, and Dave, that whole thing about Penn State, they really, truly are the state university, though. You know what I mean? People are traveling in from everywhere to this little rural community, making it probably the 3rd largest city in the state on game day. And
absolutely.
So that whole perception really does give the advantage to Penn State, doesn't it? As opposed to Pittsburgh sitting there, as Jimmy said, the campus is somewhere else, and then you've got to cart your people off to the game in the city, which has enough of its problems in itself, on game day. So anyhow, advantage we'll give to Penn State on that one, and we wish them all best of luck. What's that?
About the Pitt fan base. Here's what I think about the Pitt fan base. And, obviously you're talking about Western Pennsylvania. And there is one basic fact about Western Pennsylvania fans. And you saw this play out with the Steelers, or with the Pirates more in particular than anything else.
Yeah.
And that is, you got to win.
Yeah.
You got to win to bring the people in.
Yep.
And that's one of the things they're more critical about that. The Penn State fans, Penn State is more about the experience on game day, the tailgates and everything that surrounds that.
Yeah.
Whereas Pitt, it's like, I'm going to the game because I want to see them win.
Yeah.
And, this plays out a lot with the Western Pennsylvania stuff. And fortunately, the Steelers have been able to build a franchise that's been a winning team. And, so they are continuing to draw the big crowds there at Heinz Field. And the Penguins continue to draw big crowds because of the fact that, they have had a winning team for a very extended period of time. Right. Console Energy Center is a nice place to go.
Right.
And you see the difference with the Pirates, because here's the big difference. when the Pirates were in that losing mode,
up until 3 years ago,
yeah, the sub 500 seasons and all that. Here's the clue on that one. What was your middle of the week crowd like?
Oh man,
no one there,
non-existent, really. Yeah,
exactly. And now that they're winning, you can't hardly get a seat on a weekday.
Well, you would hope that Nartuzzi is going to change that culture. They get into a couple of seasons like this one, 8-4, maybe a little bit better next season, get some better recruits. I think, you'll see, it won't rival Penn State weekends or experience, but you will see an uptick in the, of course, increase in the fandom. And you know what? I can't remember, but I think the last time I really recall, and having been in Johnstown for many years, Pitt Mania was when maybe Billy Sherrill, maybe Foge Fazio. I mean,
Jackie Sherrill,
okay. That would have been the last time I really remember those people going nuts over Pitt football.
Oh, yeah, the Marino days.
Yeah.
Even whenever they had Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, exactly.
And they went to the Fiesta Bowl.
A little bit. You could see it increase.
A little bit because you had Fitzgerald. He was the best receiver in the nation, Heisman candidate.
But Dave will tell you, and I agree, Jimmy.
But they didn't. It wasn't like the Marino days. It wasn't
it wasn't. Dorsett days. It seriously wasn't. So, anyhow, we wish them the best of luck. Let's keep it in Pittsburgh for a second, Dave. I found something disturbing today as I'm going through all the internet, and I understand why they have to do this stuff. But the Pirates trade away a hometown kid who fans loved and adored. And I can't tell you how many social media comments I've seen about this trade that the Pirates did with the Mets. I mean, did you even see that coming? Or I think we did talk about that during baseball season.
This has been telegraphed for 3 years.
Okay,
because they've been sitting down with Neil Walker for 3 years.
Right.
And going to arbitration and winning year after year. And when you see a team go extended period of time, 3 years of going to arbitration and winning the arbitration all the time, it's like they don't want them. They don't want them there anymore. Mm-hmm. And it's I've just been dreading this because
it was coming.
They telegraphed this move for years.
Yeah.
And so it comes as no surprise to me. And I think another thing that it does is it solves a little bit of a problem, because I think what they want to do with their infield, I think they want to have Gung at third.
Okay.
I think they want to have Mercer at short, and I think they want to have Josh Harrison at second.
Okay.
Yep.
And they've solved the problem of how do you get Josh Harrison in the lineup every day.
And what do? You platoon first base now, because you still now Pedro's not even in the mix at all. He's gone altogether. Which is not a bad thing, because I didn't hear anybody crying about that. So who do you put?
More people cried about Noah Walker.
Oh, no doubt.
Pedro.
Yeah.
But you have to remember.
And they should.
You have to remember a few years ago.
Right.
It was like 2 years ago. He hit 30-some home runs.
Yeah, but
he also struck out 180 times.
And the guy's defense sucked. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah,
Pedro got that thing in his head, and he just couldn't overcome it. So, Dave, in your mind's eye, maybe Jimmy, who do you put at first base, or do we have an interchangeable first base now if we stick with that lineup on the infield?
Right now, I would go. I would switch it off with Sean Rodriguez. He's a pretty good defensive player.
Yeah.
And I would put Michael Morse in.
Okay.
But I would also look at the winter meetings and try to maybe trade a couple players in your minors, or even a pitcher that you have, and try to get a Moreland.
You know what I think we should do, Dave?
Try to get a guy from St. Louis. What's his
Matt
name?
Adams. That was the guy I was thinking about, Dave.
No, Mark Reynolds.
No, I'm thinking getting Matt Adams at first base. He's a Pennsylvania kid. He loves the Pirates. You dump some of those guys in the minor leagues. You spend a little money and bring that kid home. Because he's solid first baseman, and his bat is heavy, man. Huh?
Figuratively and literally.
Oh, yeah, it is. It
It would take the sting out of all the Pittsburghers from the Milwaukee.
Yes, it would. Because you know what? We've watched that kid's performance. I know he's been hurt a little bit the last couple of seasons. But, when he's in there, that kid is solid, man. And he's a real ball player. So now you've got the outfield taken care of. You've got the infield taken care of, and especially if you put Adams at first. Your battery, catcher-wise, I think we're good if they don't make any sudden changes there. I haven't noted anything yet. However, on the mound, okay, and that's what you want to see. You want to see some consistency back there. Now, pitching-wise, let's face it, you're going to see a lot of trades over the winter. You're going to see some exchanges being made here. I'm not sure exactly how or what that's going to look like. Dave, do you have any idea?
Well, that's part of the, you got to look at the other end of the Neil Walker deal, and that's John Neese coming to the Pirates. Okay. And they did pretty good there. They picked themselves up a really decent pitcher.
Right.
Guy that I'm worried about is,
Morton.
Liriano, not Liriano.
Yes, Liriano is the guy I'm worried about because of his age.
Yeah.
I don't know how many more years Francisco Liriano has in that arm my goodness, I'll tell you what, the way he pitched this year was one of the most impressive things that I saw. I never saw a guy strike out more batters with pitches in the dirt than what he did. I mean, it was just amazing. And can he have another season like that? Boy, I sure hope so. But, you got to be planning for, the fact that Francisco at some point is not going to be able to do what he just did this past season.
Right.
So, that's another thing. We're talking about trades for a first baseman. Mm-hmm. Then we got to start looking at how do we build that pitching staff? Do we have the guys in the minors that can actually, are there pitchers? Yeah, there's a couple of pitchers down there.
Are they ready to come up yet, though? I mean, I think we pulled a couple of guys up early spring last year to give them a test and then send them back down. So maybe they'll be ready in 2016.
We got to hope.
But you also have to look at this John Neese. A lot of pitchers have like a two-pitch specialty, a fastball, maybe like their curveball or their breaking
slider.
Ball. Slider. John Neese has 6 specialty pitches.
Okay. Yeah.
He can go to 6 pitches, that he's specialty at.
Right.
And he was like the number 2 starter for the Mets, and the Mets went the whole way to the World Series.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
So I think Pittsburgh made out pretty well there. You also have to look at how Walker played. He led the majors not last year, the year before.
Yeah.
For second basemen in home runs, but last year he struggled.
Well, defensively, I think the guy's solid. He's going to struggle from time to time on offense, obviously. But you know what? I think that's a good trade, Dave, like you said. And I don't know what kind of money was exchanged, but I know that the Pirates couldn't hold on to the kid any longer. And they might have done him a favor. Maybe later on in his career, as things slow down a little, maybe he'll come back. You never know. I mean, we've seen that happen in the past, too.
That happened with who came into play third.
Yeah, the Philadelphia came from
Aramis Ramirez.
Exactly.
Ramirez was a Pirate at the beginning, and he was a Pirate at
the end. In the end, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we'll talk more hot stove stuff over the winter months here on the airnetwork.net. It's a special edition of Monday Night Sports Talk on a Thursday, normally joined by Chad States and Jeff Speck from Huntington, but they're out tonight. So we've got Jimmy Ty from Hamburg, PA, and Dave Shannon from Altoona tonight. And if you want to,
by the way, Jimmy,
go ahead.
I was watching Jeopardy last night, and Hamburg was part of an answer.
What was
that?
Yeah. They were talking
the actual town.
The category was gaps, and they were talking about certain gaps, like this river gap.
Carnival Valley Gap or something.
Yeah. So, Hamburg was part of an answer.
You're famous, Jimmy.
Hey, my town's famous. We made Jeopardy.
There you go. I mean, hey, you can't do any better than that. Let me ask you guys about this, especially let me go to Dave. Dave, a couple of things. I've been kind of following these Penguins on this West Coast swing. They're coming up short. They came up short against the Kings, I guess, over the weekend. And then, it's sort of like, hit and miss. I know they've got some upcoming games with Dupuis basically hanging up his skates. How much impact will that have? I know he's been out, but, obviously this is something that is affecting now the teammates of his. And in addition to that, obviously the fans as well, because he was a fan favorite of the Penguins.
Oh, I am pretty sure that he's going to be around. I think the Penguins will take advantage of his popularity and his hockey sense. The guy's a smart hockey player, and he gives it his all. And an excellent decision.
Yeah.
There he was the other night, and he had to take himself out of a game because he didn't feel right. And that's the way it is when you have this problem that he has with blood clots.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as you don't start to feel well, and it doesn't matter what may bring it on, you got to pull yourself out because that could be a clot somewhere in your body that's not making you feel well. And you just got to,
right. Yeah. You can't
So
play with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was an excellent decision on his part. And I'll tell you what, if what happened last night for me is any indication of what that does for the team, surprisingly to me. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to put a number 9 on their helmet.
Okay.
And they're going to dedicate the rest of the season to Pascal Dupuis.
Right.
And last night they play at the Colorado Avalanche in Denver.
Okay.
And they fall behind 2-1 going into the third period.
Right.
And what do? They come out in the third period and they just start scoring goal after goal. They move Bo Bennett, who's somewhat of an enigma to me, just because he's so tiny.
Yeah.
His height's okay, but he doesn't have a lot of meat on his bones, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, he's a bit of an enigma because he gets pushed around from time to time. However, that being said, boy, did he respond to being on a line with Crosby and Kunitz in that the first time in his career, he has a 2-goal NHL game.
Okay.
And the difference in the team by Pascal Dupuis leaving has maybe given them something to focus on that's different from the fact that they hate their head coach and they don't want to play for him. It's like now they can get together and say, we're doing this for Pascal.
Yeah, hate is kind of a strong word, don't you think? Dislike maybe,
dislike Mike Johnson.
Well, some of the other games they played, like on the West Coast, the Ducks game, I was watching that, and then I think it was who they play earlier last week.
San Jose.
Yeah, you said on Saturday the Sharks or whatever. It just didn't bode well for them on the West Coast, man. And it almost reminds me of those Penguins that played back in October when they'd lose like 3 or 4 straight. You know what I mean?
Well, wait, they went 2-2 on the 4-game trip.
Well, see, I forgot about last night now.
Yeah. Okay. See, they won in Denver and they won at San Jose. Okay. For the first time in some ungodly amount of years. I think it's going back to 2007 or way back. Maybe it was 1997.
Really?
I mean, it's a long time since they won a game in San Jose.
Right.
And so there were positive things about that road trip that, and so they had 2 bad games during that stretch.
Well, you had mentioned Bo Bennett being on that line. Do you think at least the coach would have enough sense to maybe work that a little bit more now that he's had some success, obviously?
There's no doubt about that. I mean, I think that line's kind of cemented now for probably till the end of the year at least.
Yeah.
And he's going to see how that goes. But, I think Bennett responded to that because Bo Bennett has been kept down on the lower lines, either third or fourth line, and not being able to get that opportunity. And regardless of what Sidney Crosby is doing and how he's playing right now,
right,
just to be on a line with him, you're going to get some excellent opportunities because he's not a selfish player.
Exactly, yeah.
And you're going to get some passes and set you up in situations to score. And this may be the kind of thing that really takes Bo Bennett up to the next level. And, the other thing that happened, Greg, on this trip is, as Evgeny Malkin was just having, game after game, he just kind of put the team on his shoulders.
Right.
And was carrying them. And you know what? He didn't have the big games that he had been having leading up, but they still went 2-2. So it's going to be big to me to see how they play coming up tomorrow night in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
and see if the Pascal Dupuis thing, although you hate to see a player that good gone, it seems to, like I say, I was totally shocked the way they came back in that Colorado game last night. Jimmy, I don't know if you got to see that at all or not.
No, we don't get the Pens down here in
Yeah.
Hamburg. We get the Criers instead.
Well, and you know,
Okay.
and sort of like piggybacking on that, Jimmy, how are the Criers and the 76ers making out down there? We're not going to spend a lot of time on them, but at least 76ers, I understand, won a game a couple weeks ago. I guess, the weekend that Kobe was in town for his last game with the Lakers in Philadelphia, they actually won that game. The Sixers did. What's the press like down there now? I mean, are they hopeful?
No one really cares about the Sixers down here, first off.
Okay.
It's just, this the Sixers. And
how about that hockey team?
You have some Flyer fans down there, and you hear people chirping about the Flyers,
Yeah.
but not too much. They're more people talk about the Reading Royals or the ECHL.
Hey, well, Dave probably goes back. Remember, sort of like Sid. No, matter of fact, it wasn't sort of like Sid, but more like Lemieux, when Eric Lindros was picked up by the Flyers. They made a lot of noise, and I don't know if he ever really lived up to his claim to fame. But isn't that really the last time we heard much about the Flyers, when they were the Broad Street Bullies? And that has to be, at least 15, 20 years ago now?
No, I'll tell you what. I mean, the Penguins-Flyers is always still
that's always going to be a rivalry, yeah.
And not that many years ago, I'm trying to think if that would have been like 08, 09, when they had the big series, and that was the Max Talbot shushing the crowd in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And they had the fights during the playoffs where they were jumping up. Dan Bilesman's jumping up over the glass between the benches.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how bad the rivalry. Sorry, Dave. How bad this rivalry is a couple weeks ago I had a Penn shirt on and I decided, you know what, I'm going to go out and get a bite to eat. No, for real.
I know where this is going.
So I go out and I'm all by myself, and I go out to this restaurant. I'm sitting there and I'm in my Pens jersey, my Pens hat. Waitress comes up to me and says, "So you're a Pens fan?"
Then you said, "No shit," but go ahead.
I said, "Yeah, I'm from the area. I'm from the Pittsburgh area." She looks at me. She's like, "I'm a Flyers fan, and Sidney Crosby's a crybaby."
Oh, jeez. Okay.
And I'm like, I just want my food.
Yeah, please.
That's how bad that rivalry. Doesn't matter if both teams are terrible.
Mm-hmm.
The Pens and the Flyers hate each other, is what I'm getting at.
Okay, well, and that's all right, and it's all good because we have to have some rivalries. You know what I mean? It's like that Pitt and Penn State rivalry. It's going to happen. I believe, next season, Dave? We're going to be back into that game again, and it's going to be something that a lot of Pennsylvanians are going to have to make up their mind. Who are you rooting for? Are you going to be rooting for Pitt or Penn State? Or in the case of anything east of Huntington here, they're all Penguin fans. Going down east, anything west of Huntington, of course, all the folks are Penguin fans. Okay, so they're Flyer fans to the east. So that should be a good matchup anytime. But having said that, here's something that you probably didn't know, Jimmy, and Dave, you're probably aware of this. Permane Brothers opened up for the regular hours today. Remember the old the donut shop out there by Walmart? In Altoona.
Krispy Kreme.
They took that Krispy Kreme store. That's where Permane Brothers opened up yesterday at 3 o'clock, and now they're open full time. Dude, it's like out in Altoona there.
Where the Walmart is out there in the big shop.
They call that the Commons, don't they, out in that area?
Yes.
And I thought you'd love that, Jimmy, because so when you come back to Johnstown, you might want to stop in Altoona and check out Permane Brothers. Otherwise, you're going to have to go all the way to Pittsburgh. And I love their sandwiches, man.
Well, who doesn't?
The best.
Yeah. So those of you who are not familiar with Permane Brothers, they had that original store. I believe it was in the Station Square before we called it Station Square. What they call that old warehouse area there. Anyhow, they rebuilt some stores. They have a store, of course, a couple of stores in Pittsburgh now, and they just opened one up in Altoona. I think that was the first one that they ever moved east in Pennsylvania. So who knows, Jimmy? Maybe they'll start building them down your way, even further east in the future. But there's some delicious sandwiches made, by the way, for the steel workers back in the day. They would pile the meats and the French fries and all this stuff on that coleslaw.
There is a Permane Brothers in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Is there? Okay. Well, I hope it's not a knockoff. I hope it's the original Permane Brothers.
No, it's a chain now.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, it's made by the same company, but I remember my sister and I went on vacation, and I seen this from Manny Brothers. It's in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Cool. I just wanted to throw that out there. Hey, meanwhile, guys, we got a few minutes as we wrap things up here on the airnetwork.net. Of course, a special edition of Monday Night Sports Talk. Normally, we're on the air Monday nights, and will hopefully join us on Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. when Chad States is with us, along with Jeff Speck, Dave Shannon, and Jimmy Ty. I'm Greg Banks in the studio, and we do this via Skype, so you can always Skype us at Greg Banks 3. That's Greg Banks 3. We'll put you on the air. But of note, Dave, and I don't know how many people really know this, but Penn State ladies soccer, of course, national prominence. They won the national championship over the weekend, and I didn't know if you guys had seen that or not, whether it really even matters. But
well, it does.
That's the first time.
I think it does because Penn State takes a lot of pride in their soccer programs.
Oh, yeah.
Going back quite a ways, and they are able to get, it's like that and volleyball.
Volleyball, yeah.
I mean, you're talking about teams now that on the Penn State campus that are really well supported and, are doing very well. At one time, it was all about women's basketball in the Rennie Portland days.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But now, you have women's soccer, and probably the next sport that I think the university would like to see take off in light of the fact that they built a gorgeous softball facility.
Oh, yeah, softball. Yeah.
Is that they really need to see softball take off now.
Yeah, and these are sports that get national attention because they're on TV.
Sure.
I don't watch lacrosse, so I'm not really familiar with that, but it kind of struck me when I saw that the Lady Nittany Lions won their first national championship in soccer by beating, of all teams, a team that was very good from Duke, and winning that match 1-0 to win the national championship. Now, having said that, how many of you guys are aware that Penn State has a ladies hockey team that's very good as well?
Yeah, that one's going to be tough to. Because of the fact that you have Pagula, it's going to draw people probably just on that alone, where people will walk by and say, "What's going on inside Pagula?" and then go in and see the women's hockey team playing.
Well, based on that hockey team, now there are leagues popping up all over the state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
My cousins have been playing like 4 or 5 years, and they're I believe they're anywhere from 6 to like 9 years old. Young ladies who we never ever saw them strap them up before. You know what I mean? And now, it's become like a full-blown sport.
Well,
I guarantee that because of the Pagolas building that arena, give it a couple years, maybe like 3-4 years down the road, there's going to be a minor league hockey team in
Central PA. Yeah,
there's going to be minor league just because of that arena.
Well, we have some ice surface, and you know what? You're right. I never thought about that, Jimmy, because with that arena, which would be the nicest ice anywhere between here and Pittsburgh, including the War Memorial, obviously it might be smart of somebody to put a pro team in there.
Sure.
So
it'll be like an ECHL team,
but it'd be cool,
or one of them type of teams,
or an AHL team. Maybe to rival the Hershey Bears, because Hershey Bears, by the way, would be the closest affiliate, I believe, to State College now.
Let me tell you, those two leagues you just brought up, the arena is not big enough. The arena, the seating for the fans is not enough. Because I'll tell you what,
for Pagula, you mean?
ECHL plays in big arenas.
Oh, they were in Johnstown for years, right, Jimmy? We had ECHL there.
Yeah, but the way the ECHL is now they're playing in big arenas.
Okay.
You got to have at least 9,000-10,000.
Oh, that won't happen. Yeah.
So what you're looking at is probably something on the order. Maybe a higher league than the Johnstown Tomahawks.
Yeah, higher than NAHL. Yeah,
yes,
that's okay.
Something higher than that. But I don't think you're going to see those big. It doesn't fit in with those bigger league molds because they're all playing in big arenas now.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So, but I think there will be an effort at some point. Somebody's going to sit there and say, we have the one big plus is you have. When school is in session, you have a captive audience.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So that the only issue there may be how much time do the Nittany Lions, the men's and women's teams, need on that ice and how much would a professional franchise interfere with that?
Well, you would probably have to run the league. I would imagine if Penn State hockey goes to, maybe March or April?
March.
Yeah, you might have to play later in the year or earlier in the year, meaning you might have to go, I don't think you'd go August, but let's say you'd have to go maybe March to June. For a league, you'd have to find a league, I imagine. I don't know.
And there really isn't anything like that. What you have is leagues that start early. You have the September to February.
Right.
You have those kind of leagues that you can get, and that may not work. That's the one drawback that I see. Is how do you split the ice time? I don't know. I have not been at Pagula. Do they have I would assume they do have a
they actually have
rink.
Yeah, they actually have 2 rinks there. They could actually run concurrent games, and the one has less seating than the other. So when you said, you have to have at least 10,000, I thought that the original main arena actually you could seat maybe 8,000 in that. I may be mistaken. But I
thought it was closer to 5.
Well, I do know for a fact they do have 2 rinks there, and they could actually open up the seating, is from what I understand. So that's a possibility.
Yeah, it's something that's out there in the future. And before we wrap up, Greg,
go ahead.
Do want to get to the high school football playoffs.
Definitely,
because,
yes.
Yeah, Bishop Guilfoyle
still
going
at it.
up against Old Forge, and they have to take a big trip to Shamokin to do that. But the Marauders undefeated, 14-0. So Old Forge is their next opponent. We wish them all the luck there.
Best of luck.
Central, Central has it tough. They got Aliquippa.
Oh Lord, okay,
Oh, Lord.
yeah. As a matter of fact, Central has to actually travel to Pittsburgh for that game, don't they? I believe they do.
In Greensburg.
That would be pretty much, at Hempfield. So Aliquippa won't have to travel as far as maybe Central will. But did you see the matchup, Dave? If BG wins and Berlin wins their game, they could be set up for a state championship game for 2 District 6 teams.
Yeah, how about that?
Wouldn't that be something?
Farrell.
Yeah.
So
that would be amazing, and I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to mention that tonight. I didn't know when those games were being played, but I do know that matchup between Berlin and actually they're from District 5, right, Jimmy? And then you have from the BG
Berlin,
District 6.
5.
So that would be, and they've got to be familiar with one another. I'm sure they've watched each other's games, if not even played like some scrimmages early in the season. Being single-A schools. So
all of those games, by the way, are 7:00 Friday night.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
So.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Hey, meanwhile, we're into a basketball season here in Huntington, and I'm sure throughout the state you're going to see some tournaments coming up over the holidays. For us, we had our first game on the air Monday night. Actually, we never made it because we had some network problems, and then we took care of those. And then Chad States, by the way, did the wrestling match on Tuesday night. It was Huntington and Tyrone. Now, Dave, you know for a fact Tyrone they're usually pretty good, and they come like fierce and ferocious. Well, unfortunately, Chad only had 6 matches to do on Tuesday because Tyrone forfeited 6 matches because of ineligibility. That means the grades, or kids just couldn't make weight. And so Huntington hammered Tyrone. 71-9 was the final in that match. And tomorrow night, by the way, we have live basketball here on the Air Network as Huntington Lady Cats take on Clearfield. So that should be a whale of a game. Dave, I don't know, are you going to be traveling anywhere for any games soon, or what's your deal?
No, I have nothing on the immediate schedule. One of the things I was going to bring up there is a game at if you want to catch a high school game,
right?
And you have nothing involved, but should be a good game. There is a game at Mansion Park.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
On Saturday afternoon.
Okay.
So, that may be a game you want to take in. If you're dying to see some
high school football, and that would be the place to be, definitely. So, we appreciate you making that remark. Hey, meanwhile, thanks, guys. Dave Shannon from Altoona, Jimmy Ty from Hamburg. I guess hopefully you guys will join me on Monday night for the real edition of Monday Night Sports Talk.
Definitely.
I thought this one was pretty real.
Yeah, it was pretty real. It just wasn't really Monday night. And I really don't want to repeat Monday night, man. I went through hell on that one. Hey, but guys, have a great weekend, okay?
You too.
All right, thank you, guys. Stand by.